years. In addition, is the author of several books and magazine articles. This isn't a quiz. I'm talking, of course, about Margaret Truman. Daniel, we welcome you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. It seems awfully familiar.
I know. It's deja vu for you.
A weirdo.
You should really be clutching this book.
I think
David, remember what David Frost said?
Don't cover up the title of it.
Ah, see? She got you.
Women of Courage. What drove you into writing this book?
Well, I sometimes wonder. My literary agent, who's a very savvy character, thought this would be a good book, to write a book about women, as women are coming up more and more to
They're getting
executive
popular,
positions.
aren't they?
You mean they weren't before? Fine thing. So I started in. William Morrow said they thought it was a good idea, and I started in on it. And I decided to take women who are not well known. So many of them, like Mrs. Roosevelt, have had so many books written about them. And most of these women are long dead, but they were very courageous in their day. There are three alive: Marian Anderson, Dr. Frances Kelsey, and Margaret Chase Smith. And it was fascinating interviewing them.
I bet it was. Do you like to interview Margaret? What about the process of being a talk show host on your own radio show, or the week that you did midday, or the times you've done it on other shows, that you enjoy the most?
Oh, being on camera.
Just being on camera?
No, I'm being facetious.
Seeing yourself in the shots?
No, where do I look to see myself? I can't see
you have to look all the way over there to the monitor.
No, I don't think I want to.
Okay.
No, I enjoy all of it. And that brings me to a question I want you to talk about.
What's that?
To tell people a little bit about how a show like this is put together. All the people in the office, the production end of it. The whole thing is interesting, to be in the office, to read the books, to dream up questions, and the people in the office dream up a lot of the questions. At least they did for me. You probably don't need it, but some of the people I had never heard of, so I had to have a little background on them.
Well, I think that the office, the staff, works differently with different hosts. You know, I'm sure they work differently with Lee than they did with me and they did with you, but essentially what we do when we construct the midday program is really, I think, form one mind on the show, meaning that Gary, the producer, and Gwen Barrett, the associate producer, myself, June Hamilton, and our interns, the kid wizard interns we have, we'll just sit down and try to get a feeling for what we want to get out of the guests. Sometimes I will read a book, sometimes somebody else will read the book. Sometimes there are 4 books on one show.
Yes,
we
I know.
have a number of authors.
That.
I feel like I'm back in college sometimes with the assignments. So it varies in a lot of different ways, but I think the essence that comes out of what we're trying to do is, to do a really good show every day. Some people would say the odds are against us because, we're understaffed according to the number of hours we're on the air and each week and everything like that. But I think, all things considered, that we all really pitch in. People frequently will say to me, you just work 90 minutes a day. I come in around 9 in the morning and work a fairly long day and frequently go home with things I have to read at night.
Yes,
but
I think
it's my job.
Know that. But you work ahead of time, too. What, 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
You mean in terms of booking the guests?
Yes.
Sometimes an hour.
Sometimes after the show.
We won't go into
They'll show
that
up
one.
later.
Could I
basically, Lee,
stick my 2 cents in for 1 second? And this is going to sound like I'm doing a book plug, and I guess maybe I am.
Well, you wrote a book.
In the construction of I Miss You When You're Here, the flash forwards and flashbacks, the flash forwards are all of one day of putting together a talk show, in a sense. And answers a lot of those questions about how the staff books guests and what the system is and all that. I wanted people to know that. The book is a novel and it's fiction, but that part of it is true, and how a show like this is put together and done.
Well, of course, another thing, Lee, is that a show like this has to stay more flexible than, say, a Johnny Carson show or a Merv Griffin show. I think they are they're planned way ahead of time.
Yeah, because they're not topical.
Well, also the Tonight Show.
No, that's true.
The Tonight Show is really a scripted program. There's a lot more writing involved in that 90 minutes of the Tonight Show than I think the average viewer has any idea. It's one A leads to B, and it's done brilliantly.
The Tonight Show is a variety show that's done sitting down.
Yeah.
And it's done every day. Sonny and Cher are on once a week and they stand up. Johnny is on every night and he sits down, but it is a variety show and a good one.
What is this clipboard that you have hidden off to the side? I thought you might come on carrying a book, but you're armed with something
I've
here.
got a few questions to ask you.
Once it's in your blood, it never gets out, right?
Of all the people you've interviewed, who was the most difficult?
The most difficult to interview? Oh, gee.
I have an answer for it if you don't.
The most difficult for you have the answer to that question?
No, well, I have an answer.
The most difficult for you to interview?
Yours. I want yours.
Elliot Gould.
He was one of the best people I ever had on this show.
Really?
He was a love. He talked to Blue Streak.
He did?
And they all warned me that he hated this sort of thing and he didn't like doing it. And I met him and we just got along like a house of fire.
Well, I met him. We got along just like a house of fire. The red light went on the camera and he sat there like this. I can easily do an imitation of Elliot Gould on Midday. Let me get in position here for him.
With his cowboy hat on?
He didn't do that with me. I'm going to stand up for Elliot. He was very nice and he paid me compliments all over the place. Maybe he doesn't like working with men. You don't look like him a bit. You're too young.
At any rate.
Came on the show when I was doing it with a big cowboy hat. And, you know, he really a Jewish cowboy from Brooklyn, right? With the hat and the leather and the beads and the fringes. But he did talk. He was a pretty good guest.
I have
but he's a moody guy.
As Gary Hoffman describes it, it was like watching two people underwater trying to communicate. It was really bizarre. And of course, then we played Barbra Streisand's record The Way We Were and asked him what he thought of it. And I have it on tape. I want to look at it in about 10 years.
Yeah.
It's one of my big souvenirs, the great moments of Midday.
Well, now, was that one of your most embarrassing moments?
No.
No?
No.
What was?
You know, I should have stock answers to these questions. I can't really remember my most embarrassing moment.
You said you've been the interviewer now, and Lee and I have both been on both sides, interviewing and answering.
I had an embarrassing moment occur, not on this show, but on another show that I hosted before I came here. And essentially what it was is I was doing a late night show about call girls and prostitutes, and I had two call girls and prostitutes, excuse me, sitting over there, and two over here. I was surrounded by them, and we took a commercial break, and I really needed to get some specific things from them. So I was dug into getting like this fact and that fact. Unbeknownst to me, the brilliant PR person at the station had a brownie troupe out in the lobby of about 25 little brownies. I mean, the tiny ones, right? And they all said, "We want to see Bill Boggs." So they took all the brownies. Yeah, they didn't know that I had the hookers in the studio. So while we're on it was a big studio. While we're on the commercial break, the brownies file in, and they said, and I do not know that they've entered the studio. See, so then I hear the tape beeper going beep, 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 meaning we're coming back, and I look up into the camera, and just as I look up into the camera, I say, "Hi. Welcome back. As you know, we're talking to call girls and prostitutes," and then in front of the camera they shove a cue card that says, "And we're joined by Brownie Troop number 218 for the discussion." And I couldn't believe what I just said. That would be an embarrassing moment.
Very, yes.
Combining brownies and hookers is not my idea of big fun.
No, I don't think that's very good.
But that didn't happen here.
That's good.
Here we put the brownies on with the hookers.
Oh, I see.
And they interviewed each other.
Yeah, now I'm getting a card that says take cue.
Which means stop.
Lee? No, Margaret, will you take us out to commercial, please?
Me take you out? Yes, now we'll have a commercial. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's good.
Don't be so sure.
Might be for brownies.
I've seen her commercials, yeah. We'll be back.